Hi there, Curtis. This is Dawood Miracle from Doing Good Branding and Web Design Agency. You spoke with our salesperson Jasmine, and just following up with the website review video that we promised. There's a number of things I want to cover. This is going to go on a little longer than I normally would. Normally, there's 5, 6, 7 minutes are the videos I do. Um, this one's going to go on a little longer. There's a number of things I want to point out about your site that would make it function much, much better. And so let's go ahead and jump in, and you'll have time to ask me questions. How's that? So let me start with, so this is the Safari browser that we're using here. And there's a few things I want to point out, and then I'm going to show you some issues with your site. And actually, I'm going to show you those issues now that I think about it. So this is Safari, the Safari browser that's mostly used on the Mac. If I go to Firefox, which is still quite a bit used, you'll see that this is literally how your site loads. Um, you'll see that the navigation bar somehow sort of takes over. And if I come down here and try to scroll, it's a while before I get up to the content. That's been pretty consistent with how I've loaded Firefox. I've tried a number of different things to see if it was an anomaly. It doesn't appear to be an anomaly, and Firefox is still highly used. And also the same thing happens with Chrome. You'll see here, when I say the same thing, a little bit different thing happens. When I loaded this for the first time yesterday in Chrome, I had the same experience that I had here in Firefox, where there's this big white space, except these lines came all the way down, and it looked like the menu was, so something's going wonky with your menu. But you'll see when I loaded the site in Chrome, which is by far the most popular browser used today, I think it's close to 70% of the whole market is Chrome. We end up somewhere here in the middle of your page as opposed to at the top. You can see there's nothing that's creating that other than how your site's coded. So there's some issues with the coding of your site in general that's causing some problems. Another thing I want to point out is these menus. So you see that I'm on basically what's a laptop size screen as far as recording this video. And you'll see locations. I can't get down any further. I know there's more down here, but I try to scroll and I can't scroll the menu. So having menus this long is detrimental. It does work okay on mobile. It's just a lot of scrolling. But just to point that out, and probably the more important thing is this menu right here. So not only is there not enough space for this menu, you can see I'm scrolling if you look in the background. I can't scroll further down on this menu, but this just takes up way too much of the site. It's overwhelming to the user, and it doesn't really provide the purpose that you're looking to do. I mean, I know what you want is you want to have all your services, all the conditions that you deal with, you want all those front and center. There's much more effective ways to do this utilizing your homepage in new ways than this. Quite honestly, as I was kind of moving around the site, every time I came over this, it took over the screen. Every time I moused over services and conditions, it took over the screen and actually started frustrating me. Now, I'm a professional web developer and have been for 23 years. If this frustrates me, I can only imagine how your users who aren't so web savvy might feel. So this menu is just overkill and probably needs, not even probably, I would highly recommend it be taken away and we change to a different navigation structure. Another thing, I'm going to go back to Safari since Safari seems to load the site correctly. Another thing that is interesting is this stuff right here really isn't needed. Certainly not the font size bit. Your font should be the right size regardless of your audience. And you always want to develop your site around your lowest common denominator. So all this does is add confusion and waste space at the top. There's also other ways to do language selection. It looks like you're using, Google's language translator, which, by the way, isn't that great if you're really looking for people who speak Hindi to be a part of your practice. Um, they're reading the Hindi. Excuse me, have been having uh, hoarseness today, so apologize for that. Back to what I was saying. If you really have people who speak German or Hindi, the translator doesn't work very well. So there's a whole other way to create a website that's language dependent, that doesn't take up so much space and doesn't leverage something that's not that accurate. I've built a number of sites, I should say my partner and I have built sites in the past that have had language elements to them, and um, the translator is the easiest, the cheapest, but it's not the best way to communicate with your audience. Another thing is the top here. I'm not sure why we need quick links and then all of these menu items. Um, and quick links, this isn't quick links. There's a lot of things people can click on here. And so, Again, structuring this another way, I get the sense with your whole website that you were looking to cram as much as you could that you thought was important into your homepage. And I'm going to go through the homepage here and show you what I mean in just a second. Before I do, one last thing on the top of the site here is so I really recommend you pick one phone number. Either use the 800 number. I don't know if the 704 number is local and calls a central switchboard, but pick one phone number. This is confusing to people and it looks like one button. If there's really a need for two phone numbers, then make it look like two buttons. Um, it's great to have it at the top of the screen, but this makes it look like I just pop in here and I'm not sure what phone number I'm going to end up calling. Why are there two phone numbers in this button? Again, another point of confusion for your audience. So when we talk about branding, branding and web design are things that we do. When we talk about branding, we have 6 core pillars that we focus on as far as developing a brand. 2 of those are critical, and I'm not so sure are covered well on your website. The first one being, how are you communicating what you really do to your audience? Sorry, not what you do to your audience, excuse me. How do you communicate what you really do for your audience, for your patients, and ideally for new patients? I get that you're trying to do that by having all of these things in this drop-down menu that people are going to be overwhelmed with and not end up reading. Some of the patient education bits, that might be a piece of it, insurance information. But what I don't see is what are those things that you really help people resolve? I know that you guys are a large practice, have, I think it's close to 20 locations, which is, which is great. And I'm going to guess that each location maybe has different elements that they take on. But as a group, as a doctor's group, as a clinical group, how are you communicating to your audience what it is that you can really do for them? In other words, how can you change their lives? How can you give them a higher quality of life? How can you resolve some of the symptoms and issues and problems they're facing that they may not be able to identify as a diagnosis? This is where I think this top section could be much more valuable to you than it is now. The second piece to branding, again, of our 6 pillars, is differentiation. How do you differentiate yourself from other practices, other groups? As I scroll down on the homepage, I'm going to cover those pieces a little bit. So let's jump into this slideshow. So slideshows are a little bit difficult to deal with on mobile. I believe what I saw is when we move to mobile, slideshows are difficult to deal with on mobile because usually the text gets so small that it's not readable. And so usually we take away the slideshows. I think you guys did that. Oh, that's right. Now I remember when I was looking at your site. Let me jump here. I'm going to switch gears here for just a second so I don't forget this. I'm going to move into, yeah, this is what I want to show you. So this is a mobile emulator. This emulates what happens on a mobile phone. A little bit better with your phone number here, by the way. And oddly enough, your big, long, giant menus work better on mobile than they do on your desktop version. And so the slideshow goes away. There's a scroll up here. But one thing you'll see, and you're going to find this in a couple of instances, the layout isn't correct. So I can't see this location flag. I can kind of scroll down here and see it, but I can't see it. As I move around through my phone, you can check this on your phone yourself. It's something that honestly just needs to be resolved. It's another piece of coding that looks like it just wasn't finished correctly. Let me jump back to your main website. So this top section here, this is a primary place where you can certainly feature that, we have this new technology, scheduled today, you can be seen maybe same day, health awards. Like there's really nice things to put here, but this is primary real estate. This is the real estate that people are going to see more often than not. And what you want here is you want this section to identify your brand. You want it to say, this is how we can help you specifically. So it's nice that they can get their chart online. They probably don't know what a CEENTA chart is, that's just a designation for, seeing their medical chart digitally. But this is an opportunity to say, these are the kinds of things we treat. This is how we can improve your life through our work and through our practices by coming to our different offices. So major missed opportunity here with your slideshow. And as we move down here, this is another area that's kind of missed, I think, is I don't know I can click on these sections until I mouse over them. And while that's a really neat feature, as kind of a web designer, we go, oh, that's cool. Look at what I can do with code. Not very efficient for a user. The user is going to get lost here. And you can see that as I was over here and I was scrolling down somewhere, I was over here, and I didn't even get, your find more buttons. So just bring those out front. If you're going to keep these sections. These sections are too high on the page though, by the way, because now think about when we were looking at the mobile emulator. This is the first thing I see. I don't get to identify on mobile that you can help me with specific causes and illnesses and such. What I get is your locations. That's the first thing I see. Let me jump back real quick to that mobile emulator. And you'll see that's the first thing I get. I don't have any idea whether or not you can really help me. I just know that you have locations and you have doctors, and of course I would expect that. And then my chart. And then maybe I get down and I can see this video, and that might tell me some way that you can help me if I'm a potential patient. So a major missed opportunity here. And keep in mind that if you look at your website statistics, you're probably looking at somewhere between 40 and 55 or 45 and 55 or 60% of your website traffic is coming through mobile. So while you've put a lot of time and development, obviously, into the site, it's not serving your needs on mobile at all. And I'd go as far as saying it's not on the desktop either. I've already pointed those out. So these two sections, or whatever these sections would become, need to move further down on the page. I would not put the chart here on the home page. I would actually do something like remove the quick links and move it up here so that when I tap on it, then the form comes up and I can fill out my details there. Just getting this out of the homepage. Remember, the homepage serves a bunch of purposes, and it looks like you're trying to do all of it on the homepage. Things like having your online optical shop, referring physicians information, and research studies. How do these relate to? You really haven't given me anything for the patient yet. So how does it relate to the patient? It's great that you're making it easy for referring physicians to get information. This video is about the only thing that I really see that connects me to your patients, to your audience. And so, again, lots of missed opportunities here. So basically, this section would, I think, need to go away as well. So now we get into specialties. But why do I care about the specialties yet? Yep, I know that I might need to see an allergist, eye care. I kind of know what those things are because I'm a person and I live and I understand. But how do I know I need to see a radiologist? I mean, I guess that might come through a referral. But then why list it here? Again, just like this menu, this section is overwhelming. And so breaking this down in a different manner, having a different structure, presenting this in a different way so that people aren't so overwhelmed by what you offer. Don't have fear that people aren't going to click deeper into your website. This is sometimes homepages like this feel this way, is that there's an innate fear around we need to get it all on the homepage so they can see everything. People will click further if you give them a reason to. And the first reason is always that they can connect to your practice through how they believe you can best serve their needs and help them resolve their issues. And so that's something to really consider here. Again, just kind of just toning it down a little bit on the homepage, making things easier to find for the participant. Now this was working. I don't know why it's not here. That's interesting. Now it's not working today. But if I come down here, if I look at Chrome, so this is the Chrome browser. We were in Safari a minute ago. This is Chrome. So I can see your physicians. I did look at what's called the Wayback Machine, which catalogs websites, indexes websites at different time frames, usually a couple of times a month. And so I can see that these change periodically, that there's different people highlighted and profiled here. So that's actually a really, really good thing. Let me go back to Safari. So obviously, I'm going to reload this. And obviously, again, we found out this is something I didn't see when I initially went through your site. Oh, there they are. So something happened where these didn't load. I don't know what that is, but again, we're finding some inconsistencies in your code and how the browser is interpreting those code consistencies. But again, why just think about it from the point of view of your potential patients. Why do I care about the physician profiles until you've shown me anything up above here as to how it is that you can help me? So I do care about the physicians. I may really want to go see Veena. Veena might be the right person for me and my needs. But how do I know that until I know I'm in the right place first? Going down further, you can just see here the button is poorly developed. Text isn't very readable. Careers might be something to put on the homepage. But again, are you trying to grow your practice? You're probably trying to grow your practice by getting more physicians and more support staff in place. But is this the right place for it? Isn't the homepage ideally about your patients? and who it is that you want to bring into your practice. And so maybe careers again fits in a menu item, and maybe for a lot of businesses it fits in the footer. So again, maybe a little misplacement here, a little ineffectively used space. This is good. What our parents, excuse me, what our patients have to say. Testimonials are really valuable. If people would allow you to put pictures up, that would be ideal. There was, as I refreshed this, there was one that was really, really short and had a couple of links in it. I don't know if I can get that to come up again. You ideally want to have testimonials that was shorter. It was like it had 1 or 2 words on the next line. Um, but ideally, there it is. That's the one. You want to have testimonials that are a little lengthier so that you can, so it feels fuller, it feels finished. As we come down here to latest news, it's nice to see that you guys are kind of blogging on a regular basis. By the way, I read this article; it was a good one. Um, so that's really nice to see that you guys are putting up content with some regularity. Not a bad reason to put that here. I don't know if I'd call it latest news though, unless you're really talking about news from the practice. I might just call this latest articles, or just articles. And we're also moving into a time where this sort of content may or may not fit on a homepage anymore. It's something to discuss and see how you guys are using your content in general. Partners and affiliations, another really important thing to have on your website in general. However, is the homepage the right place for this? If I'm a potential patient, do I really have a connection to any of these organizations that you have partnerships and affiliations with? Maybe I do. Maybe I want to come to you because you work with the Charlotte Hornets. Maybe that's a reason I might come to you, but mostly not. And so this might be another place, another time, another place, and maybe this is something that develops into a video. What I saw as I clicked around the site is was it going to go to providers for a second? You guys have done a really nice job developing a lot of content. If I click on sleep specialist, everybody has lovely professional looking photographs. I can learn about each of these areas. I can go deeper into each person's biography, which is nice. Um, this is great. You've taken so much time to develop this sort of content that it might be really nice for each of your docs to write a personal statement. So here's how they got here. Henry Ford Hospital. Anyway, sorry, I'm actually originally from Michigan, so there's a Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. Um, all of this is good information. The testimonial here is great. Um, I love having that video there. Maybe bring the video out. Maybe put the video up here and let people actually get a sense and feel of what Robert's like. I didn't look to see if everybody had a video or not. But maybe a personal statement of some sort. Maybe that is a video so that people can get a sense of who the human being of Dr. Hartley is, or Dr. Harley. I added a T in there. Again, just making the site all about your audience. I've been telling my clients for the last 15 or 20 years, I've been a web developer, as I said, for 23 years. I've been telling them that you don't need a website for your business. Who needs the website is the people that you're trying to draw into your business. So your audience, your potential patients are the people that really need your website. So make every website decision for them. Again, a lot of great content here. The allergy symptoms piece, I love this. I love this video. You guys have put a lot of effort and time into creating content, and it really shows, and I applaud you for that. Now, let's lay your content out in a way that people can really connect to. I mean, even something like Why Choose Us, the awards are nice to know about, but they're not as important as testimonials or history. So move that down in the navigation bar. Your mission and values is more important. Like, why is it that you exist? This is a really important thing to share with your potential patients. So I think there's a really good start here. You have a nice looking website. Um, it's obvious that you've put a lot of effort, time, and resources into, as I said, into content. Um, I think we could do a much nicer job helping you bring that content out to the forefront and connect with your potential patients in a much more effective way. And this is where we go from just nice looking website to refinement, really refining down to what it is you really need. So I could go on and on. You guys have a huge website, and there's a lot of other things I could talk about. I think between yourself and I think it's Olena, forgive me, Olena, if I pronounce your name incorrectly. My name's Daoud, and people mispronounce my name all the time, so I get it. So I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. But between the two of you, take a look. Hopefully, you've taken a look at this video by now. You can understand some of the things that I'm saying. I'm not just nitpicking your website. I'm really trying to point out things where you guys have done a great job in some areas, and now with one more level of development, you can take it to an exceptional job. And so, let's have a conversation about that. We'd speak for 15 or 20 minutes, maybe on the 17th, I think it is, Monday the 17th. And we're here to answer your questions. So you'll meet with my partner and I, Adrian. He's our branding and web design expert or visual design expert, and I do web development, web design, and marketing. And we have a whole team that we can put in place to help you. But that call on Monday, the call on the 17th, is really about you getting your questions answered, you just nitpicking our brains, and getting the information you need to make a better decision. And so that call is there for us to serve you. And if from that call you decide that you'd like to discuss what it would be like, what it would look like to work further and to get into a project together, we're happy to have that conversation. But we're here to serve you first and foremost. So hopefully this video has been really helpful to you. Once again, my name is Daoud Miracle. I'm again the digital director at Doing Good Branding and Web Design Agency. I thank you so much for your time. We're really here to create and build thriving brands that have remarkable websites. That's our goal. That's what we do for our clients. And if it works out, we'd love to have you as one. Thanks so much.